TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. We are back for yet another week. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. I'm joined as always by Kyle Fergusson, and joined not as always as very special guests this week. Joining us from Tempo Storm, we have both Sam and Kala, who are in the wrong places in the overlay. I'm just now realizing. So if you're watching live, you can watch me scramble to fix that in a way that is neither professional nor smooth.
It's okay, we look identical. Yeah, nice.
Welcome.
I was going to make the same play.
Welcome to the show.
I love that you called it a play.
Oh man. Well, welcome to the show. We appreciate you both joining us this week. We this has been brewing it like for a while. Like we've been talking to Hazard. Big thanks to him for setting this up. All the way back to I think it was BlizzCon last year when he's like, dude, we need to get some of the players on the show. And I'm like, yeah, man, whatever. And finally, it was going to happen last week. And then, Kala, your internet went down. And then we're like, it's no problem. We'll just push to this week, and it'll be fine. Nothing will change. We'll be able to have the exact same conversations. And boy, were we wrong.
Thanks for doing that, by the way. Thanks for taking the time and reorganizing things on my behalf. It's not fun moving. But you guys were very kind in the way that you rescheduled stuff. So thanks a lot for doing that.
Oh, not a problem at all. We were looking forward to having you on. So, I mean, you can't do it without internet, right? So
it's true.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm sure the conversation today will be a little bit different than if it had happened last week. But for those out there who maybe are unfamiliar with either you, Kala, or you, Sam, I guess we'll go around the table with some introductions. I mean, Kyle, you're the coach there over at Tempo Storm. I mean, what is it like being a coach?
What's it like? It's very fulfilling. If nobody's ever, I guess, heard of me before, yeah, I coach Tempo Storm. I stream as well. So I basically do my best to try to increase community knowledge in Heroes of the Storm because, when I first kind of entered the game, I saw that it was a huge void in the community. There just wasn't enough educational content, and I kind of try to be the center point for that. Like I try to put out as much educational content as possible. And of course, I gravitated towards working with amateur teams. I started as a Fanatics analyst in 2015, and then I moved on to Tempo Storm early 2017, and I've been there ever since. But what's it like? It's very, very fulfilling. It can also be really stressful because I personally take a lot of account for the team's failures, not so much the successes. Like successes is all on them, but failures I really take seriously because I feel like the failures that I see on an international stage do show up in scrims, and we do our best to squash those bugs, if you will. But if it's not completely gone, like I feel like that's massively my responsibility. So that part's really stressful, and of course I want to make Tempo Storm, the organization, look really good too. They're so fantastic. They basically do everything for us. They're my favorite organization. Obviously, we work with them, but still, yeah. So, and it is a lot of work. But my day to day is scrimming with the team, writing out notes during games, and then we go over all of the notes that we take afterwards. We go over all the problems after games, jumping into replays, sometimes to go over specific plays that happen in between games, and then just really crunching down on recurring mistakes that we find in scrims. And then just trying to maximize the effectiveness of the way that like our shot calling happens in games and stuff like that, coming down to rotations, team fights, all of our shot calling. Like some of my notes in particular can be like, you could have saved 2 seconds by doing this play, and 2 seconds, it really does add up in the long run. So that's basically who I am in a nutshell and what I do.
Sounds great. I mean, it seems like a rather natural, at least from the outside looking in, a natural move to go from coaching to making educational content.
Yeah, for me, that's basically, like, I started out making educational content, and it wasn't that good, you know? When you first start doing something, you're never an expert at it, but I liked doing it. And my drive to get better at what I was doing was born out of love for the trade. So I loved making educational content. I loved just teaching even one person one new technique within the game. And coming from League of Legends, I had MOBA experience. So I really felt like what I had learned in League could have translated here. And yeah, I basically just ran with that. I gained a lot of joy out of teaching people.
You're being very humble. Tempo Storm is doing awesome, and your videos have been incredible.
Yeah, they've been very well received. And then Sam, you're being very polite and quiet. Is this all lining up? Is Kala being truthful? Does he not take credit for the wins?
Every time we win, he asks for 5%, and then we shut him down. So I guess that's kind of true. He doesn't take any credit.
Okay, all right. So it's okay. So I guess he is professionally humble.
Yeah.
But how has it been for you this year, Sam? I mean, other than being like my own personal scapegoat for the reasons I see so many Hanzos in my games, I mean, your Tempo Storm's just having an incredible year. How has it been?
Yeah, we're doing all right. We lost this past weekend, which was a bit of a shakeup. Kind of sucked, but we've been on the right track overall. We did pretty okay at the Western Clash. But we have our sights set high, and we want to do really, really well at the mid-season brawl. I think this is the strongest roster that, Tempo's had in a very long time. So I'm excited to see what we can do.
Gotcha. Well, let's I guess let's get a bit topical. I'll start you with a softball. Any thoughts on the next hero? Any thoughts on Deckard Cain? Are either of you raging Diablo fanboys?
He looks pretty fun. He looks also pretty strong for a support, which is a good thing. We want, support players to be more and more fun to play, so people are more inclined to play support because there's a serious lack of support mains in Hero League. But my only concern with him is his ability to maybe be a solo main healer. I'm afraid that he might have to be paired with like another healer or some kind of burst support like Tass or Medivh or something like that. But hopefully I'm proven wrong and his numbers are high enough that he can solo support. He looks fun though. He looks really fun.
That's basically my only concern with him as well, is the fact that he, in a meta that you need some form of burst healing, like Malfurion has burst healing with multi-hero Ws, Stukov with his D. A lot of like the meta supports right now have burst healing, and he has nothing like that unless you set up like multiple healing potions. His burst just isn't there, and that's why I agree with Sam in the fact that he's probably going to have to paired with someone else that provides additional support. Maybe it's just Tyrael for the additional shielding, just anything like that can help him out. We'll have to see. It all depends on his numbers, but just by looking at his kit, it does seem like he might need a little bit of assistance. He is old after all.
I mean, not only the lore aspect of putting Deckard Cain and Tyrael hanging out together, but that's actually really cool because Deckard has that trait of having to hang out near somebody, and Tyrael kind of likes taking care of his nearby buddies.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Kind of just goes together. I mean, you brought up Hero League for a moment. I mean, it was specifically support, but one of the major like constantly reiterated concepts on this show is trying desperately to digest what we see in the pro scene into something that we can use in our pickup games at home, whether it's Hero League, Team League, and the like. I'm curious for either Kala or you, Sam. I mean, what is the Hero League experience like for you? Like when you're playing at your level or you're analyzing the game at your level, can you turn it off, or have you seen the Matrix and you are forever sullied?
Hero League is kind of hit or miss. Sometimes I want to quit the game entirely, and sometimes it's actually really, really great when a lot of high GMs are playing, the pros are playing. I don't have to go super rap god mode all the time and micromanage every movement, which I have to do in some games. But some games, there's a lot of pros. A lot of them are talking. A lot of them are taking on the shot calling and voice comms, which is a really, really great feature that they added. But yeah, in terms of comparisons to pro play, obviously the higher and higher GM you get, the closer and closer it's been feeling like actual competitive HOTS. where if it's like 8 to 9 to 10 pros in a game, it actually feels like I'm in a scrim or something. So it's hit or miss.
That's interesting. That's surprisingly in line with my games after voice comms, or at least how I feel my games are, and I am nowhere near your level of play. But yeah. I had a very positive reaction to voice comms as well. It's dropped off a bit for me. Not nearly as many people talking nowadays, but still, when it does happen, it feels like a bit of a vacation when I'm in that mode.
Yeah.
But what about you, Kyle? Are you always like every time you're in there, you're just taking mental notes for your next video?
No, like I don't know. Only recently have I actually been able to play a bunch of Hero League, because beforehand I was working a day job while also doing all of this. But for the past week now, this has been my only job. Yay. Thanks everybody for supporting me. Thank you. But so now that I've actually been playing a lot more Hero League, beforehand I watched probably 15 Hero League games a day with my community coaching, or a week, sorry. So I'm always watching people play Hero League. And the stuff that I see, I definitely think that the stuff that I see in high-level games happens way too frequently, like bad stuff, I mean. Stuff that players of high GM should just absolutely know better. And sometimes that starts in drafts. Sometimes that just goes into, you're playing by yourself in the solo lane and 4 members of the enemy team is missing and there are pings hitting that solo lane, but you still step out onto the wave and die. Like stuff like that happens, I think, far too frequently. But, maybe that's just people not paying attention. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But I think those are probably my biggest things that I've noticed about Hero League. There's just quite a big knowledge discrepancy. And I can honestly go on about this forever because I think it stems down to quick match, but that's another conversation entirely. But I think voice chat has done a fantastic job in helping increase the knowledge of players in Hero League. I think voice chat is seriously one of the best things that Blizzard's done to the game in a while.
I am curious to probe into that, though, because we have been having this conversation about educating the player base for a long time. If that guy in solo lane, let's say face checking a bush, right? I mean, we all get a little curious what's in the bush sometimes, and while we shouldn't, as Rhaegar, walk straight into it and explode, we do. Like, how do you feel the impact of all these educational content from HEC and yourself is impacting the player base, and are we moving in the right direction, or are we still falling flat?
I think we are moving in the right direction, and I think it's just a matter of time before this sort of I see like this movement in Heroes of the Storm, and call me crazy, I actually get like goosebumps about it. I love this game so much, okay? And I love teaching people about this game, but I actually see like a movement in this game where people are now starting to care about learning about the game, because before nobody cared. It was marketed as a casual game. People would just play Hero League for the heck of it, whatever. You get placed master, cool, now we're done. But now like people actually, I feel like there's a movement of people who care about getting better at this game and care about spreading knowledge. We're seeing, like, I don't know if you guys have seen about Paradox, another person who's just creating new educational content. Just all these people are getting inspired, and I don't know what is causing it. Maybe it's just a new influx in just people making educational content that's just causing other people to do it, or they see a successful role model, and maybe even like myself or you guys, and then they just make educational content. But I see this wave of people caring about the game from an educational perspective, and I see nothing but good things coming in the future. You give this game 6 months, I swear the Hero League landscape's going to look different.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think seeing others produce the content, to me, because I personally wouldn't have gotten into content creation if I didn't have something else to look to. That kind of spurred me to be like, oh, this is how it works. This is how you have a conversation in this landscape. And you're absolutely right. There's been a very large influx as of late, which I'm surprised. I'm surprised the fervor on the subreddit got to the point that it did this week, especially with that uptick in educational content that we've seen over the past month. Really, was, I think, the big surge. But
I think it was well needed, though. Like, it really did need to happen. It's so funny how it all ended up working out. Within my team, we were all talking about how we would change a bunch of different things in HOTS. And, I composed an email and I sent it out to Blizzard. And then on my stream, I was going over it and I'm like, yeah, I still haven't gotten a response, but I know I'm going to. And then the next day, Reddit blew up with all of these threads. And I'm like, uh-oh, did I cause this sort of thing? But it obviously wasn't just me. There's a bunch of other people also. And then immediately after, like, I get a number of people from Blizzard telling me that, the email was received and they really appreciated the way that it was composed and the way that I addressed all of the problems. So like they care about what we have to say. It's just we have to use our channels and word it appropriately and actually like put in the effort that they would expect from somebody giving feedback. So I did all of that, and I actually do think that Blizzard really cares about what the community thinks about the game, and it's shown in those patch notes that were released today. There's so many good things that they are going to be doing to this game, and that actually fired me up today. Like, I'm so excited about it.
I guess let's just move into to discussing that. I mean, there were so many darn things mentioned in there. They addressed MMR, they addressed performance-based matchmaking, placement games. We're getting an extra ban. Like, they just announced that. Like, it was buried in this long blog. I'm like, whoa, I feel like that would have been just its own thing, its own one-off announcement, like an entire blog post dedicated to just a third ban. And instead, we got a short story about all of the improvements coming to the game. I'll throw it to you, Sam. What was your takeaway from all of this? Is it all good? Is there anything that you would tweak?
It's mainly all good. The most important thing is that they're actually taking pretty swift action based on what the community has been talking about. Knowing Blizzard, it would have taken a bit more time to get a response out, but the fact that they pull one out so quickly is what's most important. I do have a couple of issues with what they posted, but for the most part, it's pretty good. My only issues with what they have, let me just look at it real quick. Hero swaps. It seemed like they were a little bit hesitant still. I think that hero swap's absolutely imperative to creating a competitive draft. They claim that it might cause conflict, but I think that you can just, I don't know, have like a I don't know what you call it, but if you want to swap someone, there's like the actual, do you want to swap? And then there's like an accept button. Because to avoid like people just trolling people with swaps and stuff. But I think it's absolutely imperative to keep Hero League drafts as competitive as possible, because you don't want your first pick, who's like a Gazlo main, to first pick Gazlo. It's like, well, we could have got Gazlo last pick, bro. And a couple other things. Let me see here.
I'd love to be sold on that idea, by the way. I mean, I come from Warcraft 3 Dota, where someone would select a hero and then go, who wants it, for the next 50 minutes? And you're like, I didn't want to do that. And I fear having to be stuck on Hanzo just out of my own passions.
I think that's why one thing that they mentioned in there was, well, maybe we can find a way to swap the order with which you pick. Like, hey, I have a first pick hero, put me up top. That's the one that I had the most positive response to, because I'm more in your camp, Kyle, where I'm like, man, I really like this week twice I ended up in ETC just because I'm more comfortable on ATC than Diablo, and both times the team were like, oh man, why didn't you pick Diablo? And I typed to them, I'm like, you don't want me on Diablo. You'd rather have me on ATC if I'm filling a warrior role. And it worked out, and it was wins. And I'm pretty sure if someone had forced me on the Diablo, it probably wouldn't have gone as nicely.
Yeah, anything of the sort, anything that allows people to be on different heroes and pick them in the correct order. I'm fine with anything, really. I just want it to happen.
Yeah.
The third ban, I like the third ban. I wish it was before the first pick phase, but that's an entire discussion in itself as well. Because
that's kind of the scandalous part about it, right?
Yeah. Just because the bans are for the heroes that people do not want to play against because they are not fun to play against, and a lot of those heroes actually fall through if we only have one ban before the pick phase. But I can also understand their reasoning, because they want, if you place it in the middle of the draft, it becomes more of like a strategic, based on what your enemies pick so far and based on what you've picked so far, how do you want to manipulate the bans so that your draft becomes even stronger and cannot be countered based off your bans, or you see what they're trying to build and you try to, attack that draft. So it becomes more strategic if you put it in the middle, which is also a good thing, but As opposed to if you put in the beginning, it's more like, hey, I don't want to play against this stupid hero. But
Right, there was a bit of an error in maybe how they laid it out by bringing it up again in the OP Heroes release area, being like, that's why we're giving you a middle ban. Well, we need to get rid of it first.
yeah,
That's where the
exactly.
OP's got to be handled. So, like, how does that kind of mix with the community education? Because middle bans, like, someone asked me, what should I be banning? I can be like, oh, this and this for this weekend. Those are the OP heroes. But if someone asked me, what should I middle ban? How do you teach that part?
Yeah, that's the tough part. The second bans is where you actually need to have a brain, or to use your brain to fully utilize that ban, and that's a lot harder to teach. Like sometimes it's a lot more obvious. Like in the Task Illidan era, if someone picks up Task in the first phase, you probably want to ban out the pairing with Task. But nowadays it's a little bit more subtle. A lot of things that are stronger together. That you might not realize. Some of the easier pairings nowadays to ban out is like someone early picks Mouth, you want to ban out the Tracer. But if there's no obvious pairing like that, you need to really have a lot of draft knowledge to see what could potentially be good against the comp that you want to build, or what they could potentially build into with their comp.
Now hold on, you said that was obvious. Wait, what? The Malfurion and Tracer?
Mouth Tracer, if you guys didn't know, it's like the new Task Tracer. And we've all lived through the Task Tracer era. That was very painful era. But Mouth Tracer, man, it might just be as painful. But yeah, it's basically Tracer has a super low health pool, and Mouth's Q is it's pretty much like a fountain for Tracer. You hit her once, and then she can run out for 20 seconds, do whatever she wants. It's kind of like in Overwatch, where the meta used to be you had Zenyatta, who can put a healing orb on you, and then your hero could do whatever you want. And you put one on Tracer, you put one on Genji, and they go off and do their weeb things. Kind of the similar concept with Mouth. So that's why it's so strong.
Interesting. Do you feel like the Mouth nerf that was part of yesterday's patch is... I mean, it's certainly targeted at pro. We're not pulling off sweet Mouth plays at home for the most part. We have easier heroes like Stukov to play.
Right. So the Mouth nerfs and the Tracer nerfs should be good to maybe bring down the priority on the pairing, but I don't think it's enough to kill the pairing. I think the pairing is still going to be really strong, but it'll definitely be easier to deal with it now, I think.
See, for a second ban phase, having additional bans, while I think the whole draft system needed to be reworked, I've been quite vocal about how I would do it personally, but if we're going to get what we get, I think that it's actually going to be relatively easy to teach people how to use that second ban phase. And I think it's going to be it's going to be tiered. It's going to be hierarchical. So if you see a certain thing that the enemy team has that it looks very obvious that they're going to be picking certain heroes after it, like Psalm was saying, using the Tassadar and Illidan as an example, you can ban off those heroes so that they don't get the pairings. But anything else, I think it's just going to be, oh, hey, they're on Volskaya. They don't have a support. Maybe we should just ban off powerful Volskaya heroes that, regardless of, if they need a support, then we'll ban Alexstrasza. If they need, if they need melee flex, maybe we'll ban Thrall. You just you target heroes that are good on the map instead. And I think it could actually be an effective learning tool for people just understanding which heroes are prioritized on certain maps. But we'll have to see, I guess.
That'd be fascinating to get back into that headspace. I feel like for the last year, we haven't been drafting for the map. We've been drafting comps and OP heroes. And maybe thinking like that would put us back on track.
Could. Well, yeah, we'll have to find out. I think that the change for the ban phase is good to get another ban. Or sorry, the drafting system in general is good to get another ban, but I do think that it needs to come in the beginning. I personally really wanted a symmetrical ban, pick and ban phase. So both teams got 3 picks before the second ban phase, and then both teams get 2 picks after it.
I would like that as well, actually.
Yeah, really reasonable to do. So it's like blue team would ban, red team would ban, blue team would ban, red team would ban. Blue team picks 1, red team picks 2, blue team picks 2, red team picks 1, and then just 1 and 1 ban after that. And then 1 pick, 2 picks, 1 pick, done. Completely symmetrical.
Well, I'm hoping that they're not setting this in stone. That if it rolls out like this, let's give it some time, let's give it a chance, see what it feels like, and then hopefully they're willing to adjust it as needed. I mean, if they're willing to add another ban, I would have to imagine that they would be open to shifting around the order with which it happens.
Right.
But speaking of bans, what do you think about Fenix hitting HGC?
Could we even talk about that?
Well,
That's true. I guess that might be.
I guess not.
I can understand your hesitation.
I mean, he's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Right. So he'll probably see a lot of bans this weekend. So it's kind of like, because Fenix will be a ban a lot more this weekend, you'll be seeing a lot more of the other OPs like Maev, Mativ, I don't know, Tracer comps. You'll be seeing a lot more of that. Just because a lot of bans will be used on Fenix, is my prediction. Who knows? Maybe every single team will just let it through for fun, but probably not.
Fair enough. I mean, while we're on that subject as well, I mean, before the conversation shifted to Hero League and matchmaking and everything that happened on the subreddit this week, there were conversations being had about viewership and the audience of professional heroes. And while we have you both here, I was curious if you have any thoughts on how to maybe improve that and help that grow.
Oh yes, absolutely do. I can start, but I think that HGC visibility needs to go up substantially. I think that you need HGC information in the game. There's a number of things that Blizzard could do, like have team skins, team mounts, even. Like, you can do a bunch of stuff in the shop. While I don't think that that's super important, you can add that sort of stuff. But just HGC visibility in general, you need an HGC tab in the game. You need professional Heroes of the Storm forced on everyone. Everyone needs to know what the HGC is. It's the top level of play in this game, and it's a great learning tool. If I were to parallel it with another MOBA, you look at, seriously, I hate using League as an example, but if they do it well, we should use it as an example. So you look at League, everyone loves the LCS. Everyone who plays League pays attention to the LCS. They all have their favorite teams. I actually don't know somebody who likes League of Legends and plays League of Legends that doesn't care about the LCS. But I feel like there's a 50 to 60% group of people who play Heroes of the Storm that don't know who Psalm is, don't know who Tempo Storm is, don't know, who these teams are. And so I think if you increase the visibility, that goes a long way. And it starts in the game and it ends up socially. So Twitter needs to do a better job. And there's tons of other things that Blizzard could do, but I just think the number one thing is just increasing visibility for HGC.
I've never understood the lack of esports tabs within the game itself. Kyle and I cut our teeth in content creation doing a podcast about StarCraft, and that was something we asked for back in Wings of Liberty days. And it's still not in the game itself, so that is something I still would very much like to see. But I mean, beyond that, any other specifics? Do we tie it into the educational aspect? Do we provide things like builds or whatnot in the game itself? Advertise it as certain pro players take on this hero. Hey, are you looking for something? Well, here's, say, Psalm's Hanzo build from the winning game this weekend. Something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see a lot as well. It might arguably be just as important as having an actual esports tab. If you're trying to play some quick match and you hover Hanzo for the first time, or maybe even your 100th time, but you're still unsure of what to build on him, and you hover over him and there's a little, I don't know, maybe a bubble, maybe there's a button. Here are the HCC guides for Hanzo, which maps he's best to pick on, which talents are best for each map against what comps. I don't know how in-depth the guides will be, but to have some kind of exposure like that, which ties the casual, aspect of the game with, the highest tier of the game, I think that would be really, really important for the exposure of HCC. And I feel like that's a big, big thing that we're missing out of. It'll solve so many things, not only the general lack of knowledge of the player base, because I think the knowledge of the player base is really, really low. But it'll also bring exposure. So it's like 2-for-1, pretty good. Esports tab, super needed. Blizz watching. I heard there was something that was coming though. Argy tweeted it out. I don't know if you guys saw. I don't know. Is that? Do you guys know if that's going to be like an actual tab for esports? Because I really hope it is. I don't want it to be like, muddied by other random crap. Like, just have a specific area, nice and big and noticeable for esports only. Because I do think that for a game to grow and to be big, it needs to have a thriving esports scene.
Me too. I actually think that's so important. I think the success of this game does rely on having a thriving esports scene or competitive scene or ranked scene, whatever you want to, or however you want to word it. I completely agree with Sam. And as far as what Argy posted, I believe it's just something involving HGC on the home screen. Don't know the specifics about it, but already that's a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, it is. Plus, I believe it was the Heroes team themselves announced that at some point the Heroes esports website and the main Heroes website would just be merging into one, and no longer you would have to use a link to enter the esports portal. So whenever that happens, I think that's another big step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. I mean, it certainly is. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone when I say, like, nowadays the interaction with the game is just as important when you are not playing the game itself as it is when you are playing the game itself. And right now it seems like the majority of that interaction, at least from the diehards, is happening in Reddit. Whereas it would, I think it's just as important that the interaction outside of the game is watching HGC.
Sam, you had an excellent idea. I don't know if you want to talk about it publicly, but the streamer thing, did you want to just bring that up real quick? I thought it was brilliant.
Streamer thing.
Yeah, bringing on outside streamers for publicity.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'd like to. I don't know if I could talk about it. I don't know what's gonna go on, but I talked to some Blizzard people, and I thought the idea of bringing on streamers last year to, both have a nice charity event, but also bring exposure to HOTS was a great idea. And basically, I had a conversation with the Blizzard dude, scouting out maybe more potential streamers to try and bring on to expose HOTS a little bit better. So yeah, I brought up a couple names who I have actively watched and seen that they've enjoyed HOTS. They've talked about HOTS. They've went on about HOTS, and so because I think that is probably one of the biggest moves we can make outside of the game to bring like publicity to a game like Heroes. Because if you see a game like Fortnite, so when PUBG was big, it dominated everything, right?
Yeah.
And Fortnite was like an up and comer, but I feel like the general consensus was Fortnite is you're not gonna make it, like you're just rip off, blah blah blah. But these streamers, the big streamers, started trying it out, and then all of a sudden, Fortnite is now 4 times bigger than PUBG, if not bigger. So that's like the power that some of these big streamers have, and so I don't know. It would be pretty costly, I imagine, to bring on some of the big names on. But if we're able to pull it off, might be a worthwhile investment. I don't know.
I think it would be.
Mainly, that's Blizzard's job to kind of determine whether it's worth it or not. But I feel like that would be really, really good.
Yeah, I mean,
HOTS is fun. You just got to play it. Like, people just need to give our game a chance. I feel like Heroes was marketed fairly ineffectively during its infancy and did great with 2.0 launch and that, like, the streamer program. But aside from that, like, it's kind of fallen down when it comes to marketing. And if we have a campaign like that where people just come to our game and play it, I swear the retention will be high. This game is so good and our community is fantastic.
Yeah, 2.0 last year was really incredible. I mean, they had the summit as well, but it really seems it's just gotten so much quieter since then. But yeah, that initial launch, and I still look back on it fondly, even though Hanamura was part of that launch. Hanamura did not last long. It was relatively flawed, and we kind of all got on the same page. But I still think of 2.0 overall as an, like, overarching success.
You know, that launch stream for HOTS 2.0, I remember it got up to 100K viewers. And that was very, very eye-opening and interesting. So, I mean, the power is there to bring numbers like that. The power to generate hype like that, it's definitely there.
Yeah, it just needs more hands-on, which I think that also kind of arcs over the entire conversation with Heroes, whether we're talking about esports visibility or we're talking about everything that happened on the subreddit this week and the blog post that went up today and all of the changes that are coming to the game. It's all about that they need to continue to nurture it. They need to continue to talk to us. There needs to be communication, whether it's to just the player base itself or in terms of grander, larger, more promotional events.
Yep.
But I mean, you're absolutely right. This game is fun. I have played more of this game recently with friends than I have in a while, and I forgot just what a raucous fun time it can be when I'm just in on comms with people I know and love and just goofing around. Like I had a lot of fun losing this week just because I was playing with friends for the first time in a while. But
it's a fun game, man. We just need people to play it. That's it. I swear. As soon as they play it, like I said, I really do feel like the retention will be very high because most of the people that will play HOTS will come from a MOBA background. Maybe that's a little bit of an assumption, but usually when you play a new MOBA, it's because you've tried one before. So like they'll get the mechanics, and I really I think that it would do incredibly well. Like that, just a new style of marketing campaign for the game. We just need more players.
You think one thing I always think of, and I feel like they touched on this a bit with the Overwatch cross promotion, but do you think they need to play up just the fan fiction aspect of this game? The fact that it's so many of the most famous video game characters ever, all beating the crap out of each other, and I don't know. I just feel like it should sell itself in that regard, but it's been rather tame. They don't really play up the fact that all the pillars of Blizzard are coming together in one big, in their words, BlizzCon the game.
Mm-hmm. They could probably do something like that. Maybe tie that into a new style of marketing campaign. But yeah, that's definitely exciting for people. Everyone grew up with Diablo, basically, and Warcraft. Everyone has at least dipped their toes into those styles of games. So if you can draw on that somehow, all the power to you.
Yeah.
Well, and they're certainly making some good steps towards the game being more fun with their recent balance patches. In fact, they've said we are aiming to remove some frustrations. Of course, you guys are a little secretive about upcoming strats and whatnot, but any thoughts on Sylvanas and the big change there with abilities no longer disabling structures?
I feel like that's just a precursor to a hero rework. Sylvanas has a pretty big flaw in her kit. She's almost entirely useless outside of her trait. Doesn't really provide much to team fighting. Doesn't really provide much to anything outside of like really low level games or single lane objective maps like BOE or Infernal Shrines. And I really do think that them changing her trait like that is just a precursor to kind of doing a hero rework for her. But that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
When people say, remove Chromie from the game, delete Nova, like what do you guys, sidestep the Chromie, watch her animation, dodge the sand, what's the problem there? Like, what do you guys see as the frustrating levels of Heroes of the Storm, things that need to be changed in game balance?
I feel like a lot of it also comes down to it all just comes back down to the lack of knowledge of the player base. Whereas in the highest level of play, Chromie and Nova, they're not the worst to deal with, especially Nova. Like, they're actually not that frustrating once you learn how to play against them. Once you learn which heroes are good against them, what to do versus them, why those heroes are weak. Like Nova, for example, she has no wave clear and no merc pressure and no push power. So if you're able to play around that aspect, like she's really not a problem at all. So it just comes back down to the lack of knowledge. Whereas the real unfun heroes to play against are like Tracer or like a very overtuned Maiev or overtuned Medivh. that's like, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, you flat out will not beat it. So for the off meta heroes or the weaker heroes in terms of higher level play like Chromie and Nova, I think that just comes down to better education. As for the actual overtuned heroes, they, and Blizzard has been listening. They've continued to bring the OP heroes down and down, and it's just a numbers game at this point.
Sounds healthy. Though now I know the most frustrating thing about being a pro player is watching non-pro players stand in the poop.
Yeah.
What's the poop?
Oh,
just anything on the ground?
The Stukov hands, the circles from Brightwing, anything that is basically, hey, don't, and then they do.
Yeah.
Anything on the ground that you didn't put there.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, we know we got to get you guys out of here for some scrims. So before we do, any sponsors you would like to thank, and where can everyone find you?
Your first song.
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at SomHot. I stream it almost every day, like 6 days a week, I believe. And shout outs to my org, of course, and all our sponsors, especially Red Bull, which I would be drinking right now, but I'm not sure why I'm not drinking. I should be drinking it right now. But yeah, I mean, that's me.
For me, you can find me on Twitter at Curtis Lloyd NBD. My Twitch is twitch.tv/Kala. And then if you want to join my Discord to learn more about Heroes of the Storm, I think we have one of the best educational Discords in HOTS. We have over 1,000 members now, ranging from bronze all the way up to GM. You ask any question, it will be answered. And that's discord.gg/Kala. And then, my org as well, Tempo Storm, and our sponsors, Twitch, Red Bull, NVIDIA, Secret Lab, and Skytech Gaming. But and thank you guys for having us on here. Really appreciate it.
Really appreciate your time. You guys are welcome back whenever you want to come on, whenever you want to squeeze in. Probably too close to your scrims for comfort, but come on back. But thanks again, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Have a good one. All right, and this is where XSplit explodes.
But the show continues.
That it does.
Because there's a bit more to talk about this week. We hinted on bits and pieces of it, but oh, man.
Dude, this week was absolutely chock full. It was like, I laughed, I cried, I feared for the future. Like, I experienced basically every emotion you possibly could within the confines of this game.
It's true. I mean, we have on this show always kept things very positive about the game, always forward focused with lots of patience. But, when things like, why am I losing points when someone leaves as the game starts, get brought up in the long list of grievances, you got to just kind of nod along with it. And it's not just antsiness. It's not just spring fever. It's a change in communication. Blizzard had a great start to last year, and it ebbed away as time went on. And to see them double down on their communication right after PAX too, no less. These guys weren't even home, and they came right on back and got back to work. That's something impressive.
Yeah, it is. So I believe it's bumper time, because we should probably talk about what happened in the Heroes of the Storm news front this week.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
So if you somehow missed it, the Heroes subreddit was on fire this past week.
Yes.
And I am known to be the one to always assume Reddit's going a bit too far, but I don't use that term lightly. It was like legitimately a riot on the subreddit this week.
Yeah, we do need to take it with a grain of salt, because when you are at a job, Reddit is often one of the few websites that you can access on your phone in that little corner that you've made up right behind the blind spot your boss has, because your head is there, because you lean sideways and you're messing up your spine. No experience, by the way. in doing this, you are going to rile yourself up easily. There's a lot to read that can be upsetting on Reddit, not just here's the storm, if you will, but you can then communicate with these people and build that anger. And then you get home and you see exactly what you're angry about. You saw Fenix in your quick match game and, oh, you talked about it all day and people complained about it all day. How is this not fixed? But this went beyond those sort of casual buildups, those self-angers. This was a unleashing of all the patience we had after the performance-based matchmaking disappeared, when so much changed with us in the new year, when the meta completely shifted after Supportocalypse, and now we are finally going, hang on, remember all the things that were wrong before that? Why aren't these fixed? And that's fair. Blizzard's human, be nice, but that's fair.
It is fair. I'm not sure it's fair enough that most of the top posts were all variations on the same gripes. But yeah, there was certainly intelligent discourse being had amongst the mudslinging.
It's difficult because we are so excited for this game, just as our guest just suggested. We want people to play. We want people to love this game. And when you stop by a Reddit and it's nothing but complaints about what is perceived as the primary mode, though most people play quick match, but we argue the most about Hero League, it's a weird dichotomy. Those things seem very unhealthy to be on the front page days at a time.
Yeah, that personally is where I get the most flippant. This is when I see people who I know don't play Hero League making very strong statements about their opinions of how to fix Hero League, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to read it.
It's easy for me to remember World of Warcraft raiding days, where if you didn't raid that night, you had 3 hours to write up a diatribe about how angry you were that you didn't get to be included in that night's raid. But the point is 100% clear. That's a passionate person. And everybody who was angry in that website this week wants the game to be better. They want it to improve. They love it. And they're sad they're not enjoying it as much as they once did.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And so, I mean, to kind of bundle it all together, I mean, some of the large things that were being discussed, and a lot of it was really highlighted in a post by Slapjack over on teamliquid.net. And he kind of put forward that, hey, guides aren't the problems. We need to incentivize the player base just in general. If you incentivize the players in-game to climb, you incentivize them to learn, which leads to the league distribution, which is currently a bell curve. The majority of the players fall within the middle of bronze to grandmaster.
Yeah, 35 in silver, 35% in gold.
Yeah, that's probably not good.
Blizzard has said that their decision to make bronze 7% of the player base is an emotional one. They know people have to be at the bottom, but no one wants to be. Yet that leaves silver, and particular gold, because it's visited by plats from time to time, a complete angry madhouse.
Right, exactly. And so my thought with that is that that's a noble thought, but this is a competitive game at the end of the day, and that is not probably a sustainable line of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That is very, very bizarre. But whatever the case is, as of today, a blog went up on the Official Heroes website with, as we mentioned when we were just talking now to Solomon Kala, an unimaginable magnitude of announcements. It basically touched on everything within the Reddit. I saw this immediately and just like, oh man, this is maybe too much of a knee jerk. Like at a certain point, like I'm there's nothing in here I'm mad about, but at a certain point, it's just I'm just concerned. I want them at some point, Kyle. I want Blizzard to be like, no, you don't know better. We know better. This is what we're doing.
I see what you're saying, that there is a confidence issue that maybe we even noted last week with the kind of lore announcement. We want Blizzard to come out swinging. And a lot of this does seem like an apology, though as I said, if this waited in the year, it is it. I love being sympathetic. It's tough if someone leaves the top of a match, that match continues, and those things are, strong word, unexcusable, right at this point in the game's life. And I will agree to follow those lines of thought.
Yeah, that's where the to me, I see a big emphasis, at least in the narrative of this entire thing, in quality of life. A lack of quality of life improvements, that being one of them, one that is, of the many things, addressed in this blog post. They're saying that they're going to start having loss forgiveness for games that are lost as a result of a player leaving. And they said at launch of this feature, it's going to be very specifically only players leaving, but that they are working on making it more robust so that it can also pick up on intentional feeding and griefing.
They also stepped back on something they believed for a very, very long time, that matches need to be found quickly. And they've said here that they are aware how we feel, and higher skill players will be receiving longer queue times as we are going to increase match quality.
Yeah, and that's I'm curious if it's sustainable. Like how long does that stick around before we're all very sick of waiting that long for a game?
And that's tough to say because it's so different for different tiers, and so much of what people experience in the game, I feel very privileged or blessed to be in Diamond sometimes, because I get to see very fast metas move my way with very active players who at the end of the day get to say, oh, I'm Diamond, and have that comfort, whereas Plats want to be Diamond and they're angry about it. So they get a little under each other's skin from time to time.
I'm happy being in Plat.
Well, congratulations, right? You placed into Plat.
Yeah, I'm back in Plat.
Nice job, man. You put in a lot of work to get that back.
I'm not sure. I pretty much one-trick Sonya.
What? Okay, so you're part of the education condition that our guests were talking about, perhaps. But
I would also like to point out that I really wanted to prove myself that I could do it without Zagara games just chained back to back.
One main for another, perhaps, but all the same. Congratulations to you.
Yes, absolutely. For me, what I'm taking away from a win is the fact that I currently have a 100% win rate with ETC, because I was forced into a different tanking role multiple times. But my point being, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. But again, there's a balancing act with the queue times. And in my mind, it directly affects just your performance. Because if you're not a pro player, if you're not in an environment where you can scrim regularly, if you can't fit in as many games into your evening as you could before, you are not going to improve at the same rate.
They also tackled the other side of it, though, which is interesting, and said that they are going to institute the MMR and rank decay. Not only one, but the other.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I read this entire blog post. It sounds like MMR decay is Hero League wide. It's not just for the upper echelon.
Yeah, there will be... Oh, wait, where was that?
Did I miss it?
Okay, so, yeah, we could get that confused with performance-based matchmaking, which is hoping to come back, but will not be turned on in Grandmaster or Master at all.
Okay, yes, I did see that. Probably never going to affect me. But...
hey, man, you just keep maining that Sonya all day. You can dream. She's not contested with this whole Garrosh business going on.
Just stop derailing me into Sonya Town. You know me.
Okay.
You mentioned Sonya, I can just go. But back to my point. At least from the verbiage used in this post, it seems like MMR decay is just Hero League wide, which I think it's good. What do you think about this, Kyle?
It's all very sane. It starts to decay if you're not playing enough games per week. We don't know what that is yet, but we also know that this is going to allow placement matches to be a ton saner, and your MMR as it decays, as well as your rank, what we're hearing. I'm not sure how that works with placement or demotion matches. If you'll go full demoted, if you'll sit on that demote for a week, and then it'll be like, by the way, you should log in. You're about to be demoted. Might want to give that game a shot before he put you down. But that's when people talk about the placement bug, that's its own thing. That's in the past. We are always moving forward and trying to fix out of that. A lot of the problems that people are citing is that if I come back to the game after 3 weeks, it is an entirely different meta. I am doing my team a disservice by playing at that MMR. Even worse, if you placed me awesome and I went, hey guys, check out the border. I'm going to keep this all month and play, for the whole season and play nothing but unranked because I would look cool. Like, that will ebb away come the next placement. I didn't play enough. My MMR has decayed. I get placed where my MMR is. And sometimes only one placement game under this new system they're talking about.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Because I saw a lot of talk on the subreddit this week about placement games, and a lot of people seem to be leaning in towards have more placement games. if it's not good enough, have more placement games. Take the weight off of the first few games, spread it out more evenly throughout the placement. Yada yada yada. And then now here they are. I guess when you can join it with MMR decay, you probably don't really need it.
I really like the idea of one placement game because it's still fun, particularly as a streamer, to have the uncovering of your rank. And you pull back the curtains and the drum roll happens and maybe you win and you're like, ooh, did that count? Oh, I lost. I need to motivate myself. That's fine. I only want to do one, though. It is insane to me to play that many placement games on a season reset when my MMR, playing as many games as I do of Hero League, should be set.
Yeah. And as you're going through the placements, I mean, you see where you are anyway. It's not like you're making giant leaps and bounds between leagues. You're going up a number at a time for the most part if you're climbing, and going down usually a number at a time if you're dropping. Didn't happen to me last season, but usually more or less that's what happens. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to discuss bans. I think we touched on that well enough with both Sam and Kala. But they also brought up toxicity and some new tools that'll be coming in for that. The big thing is it sounds like they'll be ramping up punishment for it, leading to eventual just straight up bans from the game for repeated offenders.
Which we are a free-to-play game, so you always have to wonder if that's enough punishment, but hey, you got to work on these accounts. It takes a lot of money or time.
Yeah, Heroes, I think it's more effective in Heroes than it is in other games. PUBG, for example, you just buy the game again and go back to hacking. Because there's really no barrier to entry as you kit yourself out from nothing to something in the beginning of every single game. Whereas in Heroes of the Storm, if you want to play Hero League, you need to level up your heroes.
Some people may be disappointed to hear that these are all systems for toxicity. They are building computers and programs that are looking at curbing our language or maybe orchestrating what is toxic over a voice chat channel. We are not given that team, the crack team of elite anti-toxicity overwatchers that game seems to have.
Yeah. I mean, more is better. I mean, yes, you can just go start up a new account, but at a certain point, I don't know. Why would you go through that much effort to be that toxic of a human being? I mean, I'm sure by now. I mean, even I have one other Heroes account that's damn near Hero League ready, but it's a lot of work to have multiple Hero League ready accounts at the go.
Well, I haven't brought it up here, but we'll be moving up to 16 required heroes if we have another ban phase.
Oh, you're right. Hadn't even considered that. It's going to be
They also said that they are thinking about imposing some experiments onto unranked draft, such as the first come first serve pick methodology used in Team League.
Yeah, that was in the section that was mentioning hero swapping, or even being able to maybe manipulate the order in which everyone picks as a third possible option. I think hero swapping is my least favorite. I think
Blizzard should listen to our interview there where we went, maybe we can change order, and we all went, oh.
Well, they mentioned it in their own. They mentioned it in their own post. I think that's the healthiest option, personally.
Yeah.
It might be the hardest to implement. Well, I think that or hero swapping is going to be the hardest to implement. Right? There's nothing in the game currently like that. It's. I don't think exists code that makes that easy to happen. But I don't know. I'm also a layman as far as that is concerned. But if I had to pick one right now, I would rather just, hey, do you want a first pick, man? Nah, I'll support. Throw me in the middle. Okay, cool, man. I'm gonna pick us up Fenix or Sonya or Garrosh or whatever, whatever you're happy with in your first pick. Although maybe support's not a great example at this very moment, as people are first picking Sukhov, and I am okay with that.
Yeah, that's a weird one, right? We're always talking about counter-picking supports, and then we go into this first pick Stukov spree, and then I stream for 3 straight hours and was like, I'm going to pick Rhaegar because it sounds fun, because I've been streaming and we won. But it was a lot of work to win that particular first pick Rhaegar game. That was a poor idea of me.
Yeah. So, I asked Colin Sam if they were happy with everything in this, or if there was anything they would change. I would like to ask you the same question, man. Is there anything here you'd want to tweak besides the ban?
I think this is all moving in the right direction. It's all, of course, promises, which is difficult because we don't know if these systems will be able to be imposed. We've seen so many different aspects of the game not be followed through with. So, as much as, I don't want to be parental of Blizzard, I'm going, all right, show me.
Right. And that's... In my mind, these are all things they've been working on for a while, and maybe they were just not ready to announce it yet. And that's why we got a wordy blog post as opposed to some type of feature video or more polished announcement. So maybe it's not as knee-jerk as I think it is. The only knee-jerk reaction here is timing.
Yeah, I don't think this is knee-jerk at all. I think this is a sharing of conversations that they've been having for a long time, and the desire to hit it strong. I don't like teasers as a content producer. I do not want to be like, hey guys, guess what? I just want to be like, bam, it's here. Yes. Oh, wow. It's coming out tomorrow. Like, those are the kind of Hearthstone announcements that just rock. No one wants to sit for 3 years waiting for something to come out. Here, I know they wanted to do that. I know the bombastic feel Heroes and their team has for this game. But it was a nice curtain reveal.
Yeah, it was. But can I soapbox for just a minute?
Yeah.
Because of all the things that I saw on Reddit this week, the one that wrestled my jimmies more than any other was the complaints about the speed of patches. And it's basically the Fenix complaints. The complaints about Fenix balance. If you want to complain now that the balance isn't maybe enough of a change, and I would probably be on your side of the argument in that regards. I don't think the changes they made to Fenix go far enough. But the majority of the complaints that I saw anyway were about the speed with which we get adjustments. And I think you're crazy. If you're complaining about the speed at which Heroes of the Storm pushes updates. I think you're completely out of your mind. Do you play any other games? Do you play any other Blizzard games? Because holy hell, if Hearthstone started making changes at this speed, I'd be super happy, man. I would be stoked.
I think it was a real telling moment of quick match play. And the audience that has. People are mad at Fenix. Am I mad about Fenix? Dude, I've seen Fenix all week. I play Hero League. He gets banned. Like, I have no strong feelings other than that takes a ban slot. And banning only one hero of this current meta is difficult. And right now we're banning Garrosh just to get rid of easy-to-do combos and making sure we don't lose the early game too hard. That's a ban out of frustration. I'm not worried about Chromies and Hanzos because those plays in Hero League are questionable. people were so mad, and that's and they're going to use Hero League, and that's the part that's frustrating for people who enjoy the mode. But when you want to talk about something, you're going to use the highest caliber words you have, and saying that this is awful, it's ruining Hero League bans. I only play Quick Match, but I know that's true.
So that's what gets you, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I agree with you, though. I mean, granted, I do feel like an old man about this. Playing Warcraft 3 Dota 15 years ago, us doing a StarCraft show for as many years as we did, balance does not flow like water like it does around here.
Dude, there were multiple reasons we stopped doing our StarCraft podcast, but one of the large building blocks to that show ending, we were stuck in a Locust Swarm meta for like 2 months. And it lasted longer after we quit.
Yeah. It continued on.
Yeah, it just stuck. And there were no other. Legacy of the Void was at least a year away at the time. And it's like, well, they're not adjusting this. There's no new game coming out. So the only thing there is to talk about is esports, and nothing new is happening on that front because it's just Locust Swarms everywhere if Zerg is involved in the matchup.
Well, and they show their hand here, saying as much that we are not going to ban brand new heroes on release in Hero League. We need that data. And that's something we've theorized for a long time, but it's nice to hear them say it.
Yeah, that was the ground standing that I have a lot of respect for, because that I take them, like, they need that, right? Like, how I don't see that as any type of smokescreen. How else would they get data if you're not playing the hero? How did they learn anything?
In a comp, in a drafted environment where we're trying to pull off something good.
Yeah. My counterpoint, however, is it did seem, again, in the wording used, that they admitted to kind of changing their design philosophy of, hey, let's release the hero strong so that it gets played, so that we get data, and then we'll tune them down. Whereas it seemed to be working fine before when they released weak and they tuned them up. To me, I'm like, that was working okay. Why'd we stop doing that?
My games were more affected by weak heroes because first pick people wanted to play them. They're fun, they're new, and I can't fault them for that, but it was a sad Hero League experience. This has been fascinating. Letting things through the ban, that's fun. That's fresh. I got to fight in comps I've never fought in since Fenix showed, because we were just letting things through. Sometimes those are map-specific things like Sylvanas or like a Nazebo on Volskaya, but sometimes it's just wackadoo because that guy really wanted to play Fenix. He knew it would be an option, and he's going to pick Chromie first pick because, he didn't get Phoenix. He's just going to do the next thing. But when you release those weak heroes, we have Zarya comps day one, and they are awful. And I do prefer this method.
Thank you for the history lesson, Kyle. I kind of forgot about that. I remember.
Yeah, Zarya was a real sad case.
Now I remember your streams those weeks. You're just like, yep, we're not going into Hero League this week because there's a new hero out, and it's going to be Banana Town.
We didn't know what she was supposed to do. We didn't know if she was an off. I don't even think we had the concept of an off support in Zarya's release time period.
No.
We sure as heck didn't know what the heck we were supposed to do with Alarak, too. Oh my God, 2 heroes back to back where we were just like, what do we do?
Like going back in time and handing an automatic machine gun to a British soldier. Just being like, here you go. I know you're used to flintlock. Here's a magazine fed. Wait, what? How does this work? Give it time. Well, you want to talk about the patch, man, because a patch did go live. Fenix was adjusted. So his basic attack's down. Plasma Cutter's damage is down. Planet Cracker's damage went up.
There is a fascinating philosophy in these patch notes, and I think it really reveals how the team is adjusting itself for future, speedier patches. Now, all we have to go off of at home is HOTS logs, of course, but I went through this entire patch and compared everything they changed to the popularity. And almost every single change in this balance patch is based on pick popularity, not win rate. Sometimes they're the exact same thing, but sometimes they're not. A lot of these are talent incentivizations, and when it comes to Fenix, that's exactly what happens. They're mainly dealing with the slow build here. The easy to do, easy to sack. You supply your own slows in the first place. Chase people down with a spinny laser.
Right, and if you have any other slows on your team, you just happen to pick some up via the draft, then God help your enemies.
Right. But in order to make this encouragement happen, they not only nerfed some of those more powerful or even more popular towns, they straight up went through with things like Arsenal Synergy. This is the one where you get 3 auto attacks out on your quick weapon mode and then fire your big old ball for bonus damage. They took that from 100% bonus damage to 175, which seems insane.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why our Tempo Storm friends at the top didn't want to talk about Fenix. It's because he's 100% fine and they hope no one else realizes.
I think that's a safe assumption. I mean, they did
like Emergency Protocol. That's an easy to use talent. I like that being nerfed. But still on 4 is the Warp Reset, which feels insane to me when you think about power creep, older heroes that don't have resets available to them.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the discussions we saw on the subreddit this week, that was a point brought up multiple times that I agree with. Said a lot of these older heroes there's no place for them. No country for old heroes, Kyle.
Well, a lot of that too. If you've seen some of the Vala videos that have been posted around, that is a sad affair. And right now in my Hero League, if you pick Vala, it is kind of that release Zarya feeling. Lots of people agree that it's just dead.
Yeah, the Ariel kind of bump up from a couple weeks ago that we saw didn't really bring that back in any way.
No. Wait, I'm still curious to see it. In particular, I'm curious to see what her short cooldown might do against someone like Fenix. Salvo is 100% the favored ult pick for him, and it's quite easy to interrupt, actually.
Yeah, it is. Vala for me is still just an immortal race pick. That's the only time I really end up picking her. But yeah, I think so Fenix still first ban material in your opinion.
We may see some changes. There are bug fixes as well, such as Fenix's little laser was working as a summon. It would sit atop him rather than being actually part of the character. So if you threw him in a gorge or a cocoon, that laser kept on spinning, which probably kills the whole team that you were putting him in the gorge or cocoon in the first place for, to cancel that 5 seconds of high damage. So now he has a counter, and it's almost like painted here by even thinking about this bug fix. Hey, Plasma Cutter is going to last a while. You may want to think of it like a Dragon Blade, as crazy as that is.
Yeah. Wait, does this mean, because I know it specifically calls out stasis, polymorph is polymorph a stasis?
No, polymorph is its own thing.
Seeing a sheep with the laser still going around bothers me to no end.
We do need some clarification on that, because a while ago, Polymorph and Taunt were both functioning with silence talents, and I don't know if that's changed.
Yeah, because I haven't seen a Fenix polymorphed since the change, now that I think about it, so I don't know. All I know is that I don't think a sheep should continue lasering.
No.
And if a sheep does continue lasering, I want to continue whirlwinding.
Yeah, or deflecting, or please don't, or Vala strafing, like all these sort of things turn off for a period of time. So that is a big bug fix. And while you may not want to use your heroic to stop a basic ability on the enemy side, there are probably some games that were lost because of this interaction.
Yeah. Interesting. Can we talk about Sylvanas just a little bit more?
Of course.
Now that Solomon and Kyle aren't here, I am in lower league, so I do pick Sylvanas from time to time. I think she's still fine. She's totally fine. Not sure.
Yeah, you had yourself a 9-minute game today on old Sylvie.
8 minutes 48 seconds.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, on Towers of Doom. It was wonderful. I will say that I got to double stack mercs in that game.
You dirty man.
No one came to stop me. Nobody came to stop me. The nerf to Sylvanas does not affect her ability to completely turn off lane minions.
No, and this is only ability damage, or the abilities no longer shut down structures. You're still good for mercs. You're still good for lane minions. You've never shut off monsters in the first place, so nothing happened to you there. People were very scared, but this is a bit more tame than I think the community thought it was.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you were really passionate about Sylvanas before, I think you're going to be totally fine. You should know immediately how this changes up, how you're going to have to play. When you're moving up to 2 towers, you're going to actually have to bias aside so that you're not taking shots from the other tower, which I think is fine. It feels good. And I love that the damage has been increased because I've always... I feel I have always impressed with my Sylvanas damage numbers on teams when I'm on Sylvanas. So, give me more damage, I'm happy.
I've always been down with Assassin Sylvanas, getting in there and making some cool moves happen. She's very light.
If Sam and Kala are correct and that this is kind of a tell that a rework is coming, I hope they double down on the damage side of Sylvanas. Because she's so damn slippery. Haunting Wave is great. I want to see that used in more team fights, used in more offensive matters, and the utility she brings with her heroics. It's great. I think she just needs to be focused a little more and be a little less of a one-trick pony.
To me, the one trick that I am more than happy to see gone is the dagger while I'm running backwards. I hate that thing. Because I've got to make a choice. And statically, it's an interesting choice. You hit me with the dagger. I'm running away from the whole team that's surging towards me. Will I go through the gate and turn off all my buildings for you? Or will I die? Oh, okay. I'm going to go through the gate, live, because my team won't get mad at me. But I'm going to shut down everything in the area.
Right. Now that's no longer a problem.
Perfect.
Yeah. That just seems kind of intuitive and not... It was a little too punishing.
I think, too, her ults are not easy to use. They're both too quick for Hero League execution. I mean, silencing arrow, that's a long time. 2.5 seconds. Holy crud, that's a long silence. But you get all of warning when that thing flies into the air, and a whole nother little song ditty to get ready for someone running towards your team at high speed. I'm ready to see her go Banshee form.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if she gets a rework, why not, right?
Why not?
We've seen it. Plus, can we get rid of Mind Control? If Mind Control leaves Sylvanas, I'm calling Infestor Hero confirmed.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Wouldn't it be?
Well, I mean, I agree with you on paper, of course. I'd rather see a silencing arrow than a Mind Control, but I've certainly seen Mind Control win tons of games. Yes. I'm not coming down on Mind Control. It's just that if I had to choose between the two, it's silencing arrow.
And if a rework is coming, that cinematic is dope. Let's just give her some type of high damage insanity ult.
Yeah. Well, she's basically like a Kerrigan there almost.
Yeah.
Doing some sort of maelstrom.
Yeah. Probably would have to address that.
Does she go inside the building? Well, she turns into mist and then jumps inside the tower.
She basically flies into the siege tower as a ethereal body of smoke. And then kind of coagulates, I guess, is the word I might use. Reforms. All I know is that this means I need to watch that cinematic again, and that is a positive in my eyes.
There's an ability in Dota that I've missed in this game for a long time. It's the ability to hide inside of a minion. What, if anything, affected by Black Arrow? You could climb up in.
Doesn't seem very Sylvanas-y.
I don't know, man. No, that's true. Probably not. But it'd be cool, right?
It would be cool, but what hero would that work for? Who in all of Blizzard would that even make sense?
Oh, we surely have possessors, right? Who's been mind controlled in World of Warcraft? Probably lots of people. Probably many people have had amnesia.
Actually, you know who has a really long history of impersonating other beings are Dreadlords.
Yeah, but they straight up dress up.
Yeah, but they also shrink down and change their face and entire bone structure.
Yeah, no, I mean, they just put on an Alliance hat and walk out there.
Right.
I mean, granted, it was a little obvious in Stratholme, and they should have seen it coming.
Probably. But it's basically, it's comic book writing. It's 90s comic book writing. So
Now that Kane's in, man, full power to the Dreadlord trains. That's all I want right now.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot else in this patch, but it was, like you've mentioned, it was a lot of buffing of unpopular talents and reining in of a few popular talents. Of, Variance Taunt, for example, you're getting less health, but more health because his base health got bumped up.
Yeah, and when you look at things like Falstad, this is really showing of how they're choosing to incentivize other talent picks by adding additional functionality. Hammerang, as crazy it is for Gathering Storm, is going to return mana if you take that. Wingman, your one that gives you stacks of Bribe, is going to lower the cooldown of Lightning Rod passively. So as you up the damage of your Lightning Rod taking camps, you will also have that decreased cooldown to do more with it. And those sort of additions are very cool. And on the opposite side of those, we have balance like what happened to Nova. Double tap. This is where you get those 2 charges of pinning shot. They increased the cooldown by 2 seconds. So kind of the positive of this new philosophy and the negative. And you see this throughout the patch notes.
Yeah. I think Sylvanas was the biggest surprise. And maybe Fenix too, to a certain degree. Like, it's not surprised that it got adjusted, but surprising that it wasn't strong. It wasn't a strong adjustment.
No, certainly not. It was very tame and perhaps not what the balance needs, but certainly the touch will favor him actually continuing to participate. And Maiev found her own place too. It's alongside Garrosh and other Wombos, which is fun. For me, you just ban the Garrosh and the Maevs don't happen, but I know that can be difficult depending on your league. There's also ones that, there's a very happy select few out there this week, Garrett.
Oh?
Chen players.
Oh God. I was just realizing how much I enjoyed not seeing Chen in my games.
Well, yeah, we still don't know because deducing balance on Chen is a difficult process, as those who play him love him, whether or not he's good or not, and those who fight against him never fight against him. So we just don't really know what's going to happen with this. Some of the things that are being done here, though, do punish piled up heroes, something that I feel is over punished in Heroes of the Storm, but that may give him a place as a sort of in the thick of it brawler. He's getting a cool little talent for Purifying Brew that when you stack it up with some of your other talents can give you a permanent spell shield.
Okay. Yeah. I don't need grouped up heroes to be more punished either.
It's tough too, because like now you're saying like, oh, you can tank through the burst damage, but like in today's game design, name a burst spell that doesn't stack up with a talent.
I got nothing.
I know, right? There's something. There's Blizzard. Blizzard doesn't, but you're stacking into her getting a ice block. Alarak has talents. Chromie, if you're just standing there, even if you're the one, if Chromie is just like, die, Chen, die, the whole team's like, sweet, Chromie's busy, let's win this game. But she's stacking up for later in the game. That's a pretty scary thought. Alarak, Kael'thas Convection, though you shouldn't, and everyone tells you not to, you still do. I'm not talking to you, Garrett. I'm talking to everyone in general.
Yeah, so your point is, yes, you're not going to die, but you're still losing the game in a less obvious way.
Right.
Fair enough.
Of course, you shouldn't be spending. Yeah. Oh, Li Ming Orb. That's a good one. Li Ming Orb.
Okay.
That'd be a horrible choice for Li Ming. What are you doing, Li Ming? Why? Into the tank. Oh, my God.
Shouldn't intentionally be happening.
Not like poor Li Ming. What? She got on this balance patch, too, with a Ether Walker buff of 1 second. If you look up that talent, you know exactly why I'm laughing. And then they changed dominance to be returning 20% total health to be returning 30% of missing health. It's not a huge deal, but you look at the hot slogs right now and see poor Li Ming's win rate in the bottom 5 and Medivh just rocketing up to 50% past so many others. She was queen for so long in Heroes of the Storm.
I really miss Li Ming a lot. I do not understand how she hasn't gotten any love. Or just like give her lane clear back, for God's sake. Give her something.
It could be that we're stopping an eventual OP build for the eventual Li Ming rework.
Yeah, maybe, but in the meantime, geez. She's like, as far as I'm concerned, she's hanging out with Raynor in the like old and dusty pile of when are these heroes getting some love.
Weird to say that.
It's very weird to say that. But that's how I feel. I've been seeing her getting picked lately, but at least in my games, it has not been working out.
No, she still has a little bit of a place on Battlefield Eternity. There's, of course, those that know how to use her, and everyone out there, of course, win rates don't matter for when you're rocking your main. I'm curious to see if she has an even bigger impact, and same with Vala on Battlefield Eternity due to the Hanzo nerf that happened this week. Now, you got 5 seconds on to natural agility, which you can make that 3 minutes long. I'll still be bummed when he floats away on his farts like that.
I saw you tweeting about that.
I just want to see him work hard. Maybe that's it. I want to hear those little of his little bare hands climbing and work. Because, that Overwatch, he looks doofy. And you're like, go, Hanzo, go. Genji looks cool doing it. But you're just like, yeah, you're a man. You're just climbing a wall. And here's the Storm. It's like the Heart of the Swarm cutscene. He just kind of picks up his butt and just go, bye, Raynor. Oh, and floats off. Maybe if that looked a little more difficult for him, I would accept a 25-second cooldown there. But he still bums me the heck out.
I think that's very fair.
But the important thing that happened on Hanzo was that serrated arrows, the bonus damage was reduced against monsters, mercenaries, and minions from 150% to 100%. And that's huge. A good change.
God, that's huge. But yes.
It's a level 4 talent. That is a really big deal for Battle.
I mean, I think it was just 2 weeks ago you were making the joke on this show because we were in a game together and Hanzo started murking. You're like, yay, Hanzo read his talents. But yeah, now it's gotten a bit out of hand.
Tracer did receive a health and damage nerf in the end. Those are one of the few big stat changes we saw here. Medivh got his arcane explosion knocked down, and as we mentioned, the top Malfurion's base healing is reduced, which makes no sense unless you head on over to masterleague.net to check out pro plays, check out his 65% win rate with certain teams, and you go, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm. I see it.
He's still just stupid hard to play. I've been enjoying some Alex to fill out my support roster, but I have not mastered paying attention to 3 things at once.
I am trash. I am trash tier Malfurion.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
You got to keep the hots on everybody, and then you're doing moonfires, and then you're supposed to land sweet roots like Stukov. I land a sweet root for ever. And I can still activate the heals I set up earlier. It's so much easier.
Yeah, man. Now my support plan right now is Stukov or bust. That's if I have to support, Stukov better still be on the menu, or it's gonna be
that's not gonna happen.
It's gonna be problematic. Yeah, I mean I could still rock a Lucio every now and then. I had a couple really awesome Lucios this week. Not that I played, but people that backed me up on Lucio, and it worked very well. But I'm waiting for Brightwing to feel right again.
Brightwing's kind of filled out that replacement Stukov Lucio zone.
Yeah. I don't think it's quite there for me yet. Maybe if I wasn't the one always playing the Sonya, it would feel better because it just polymorph into Sonya just feels great. But whatever the case is, I think it's gonna more or less wrap it up for this episode.
Yeah, those are the main things.
Yeah.
And some of these, like the Zarya, Tyrael is a pretty big one, Leoric, Dahaka, they're trying to bring a lot more bruisers back into this meta. And it is a double tank meta. If we fill that out, this game will look more diverse, particularly in pro play. But these are all very, very crunchy. I encourage everybody, if we mentioned your main offhandedly today, don't be upset. But go check out these patch notes for yourself.
Yep. Man, I do not want Zarya to re-enter the same time that Medivh is seeing picks. It's too many shields. I don't want to return to the shield world, Kyle.
Zarya still suffers from her lack of mobility, and that will always haunt her.
Yeah. I've seen her popping up a few times this week, and I was happy to see that it seemed like most players have retained their knowledge of just stop attacking when the Zarya shield comes out.
Yeah, that language has been well received across the game.
Yeah. God, I saw the most bonkers, beautiful stop attacking on a Karazim just yesterday. Like he popped it. He jumped into the middle of everything and didn't take a lick of damage and just had to run for his life. And it was our Karazim. And I was just like, no, how did that not pop?
Shame on the end for, being on your team, but it is beautiful when your team pulls it off.
Yeah. Wasn't on my team, sadly. But we won that game, so whatever. I don't care. But that very moment, I was just like, I'm not even mad. I'm impressed.
Well, and he's an interesting one, too. I mean, he got a health increase this week. Transcendence healing, Punchy healing went up. This is one of the few stat changes we've seen since Supportocalypse. And if they're increasing Karazim's health, I wonder if other melee supports are up for business.
I think I'd be okay with that. I might start experimenting with Karazim again. This is a hero I really liked when he first came out, and then I just never went back to him.
It's tough. I did. Granted, it was Blackheart's Bay. It was my very last Hero League match with Karazim, so that'll take you places and how long it's been.
I'm just impressed you remember it.
Oh, I do, because it was one Kael'thas pick, and Kael'thas put a bomb on me every time he saw me, and I couldn't heal my team.
Oh.
I had to stand close to him. I couldn't get...
It is problematic.
Yeah, it was awful.
That is quite the counter pick.
If we're waxing and musing on bizarre picks we saw this week with great popularity, Raxar with Force is back.
With Force?
Yeah. Oh no, not the word Force. Just he's everywhere.
Okay, Rexar, huh?
Yeah. Praxis.
This has not shown up in my games.
Dragonshire, like all maps he should be picked on, and like really sane Rexars who are like, there's two people on my team, do something somewhere else. I've got these guys occupied, and you just love them. They were great, but I don't know why this happened so suddenly.
I got nothing for you, man. Actually, here's my parting confusion. We should make this a segment, by the way. Here's our parting confusion.
We actually might all be the same guy.
That's great. I saw Arthas banned in the majority of my games this week.
What?
Yeah. Good. I was really expecting you to be like, oh, Gary, you didn't know banning Arthas is in.
They're just the connections and
I don't understand it. Why? One of them was first ban, and we didn't have first pick. I'm just looking at this like, I'm not mad. I'm just really curious. Like, show me on the doll where the Arthas touched you. Like, there's a story here, and I want to know what it is.
I mean, I can paint you the Diablo picture clear as day. Garrosh, double tank, destroying tanks, Diablo, devastate charge, can charge back over a wall. Medivh counters Medivh by pushing him away from his portals. Everything is in Diablo's camp right now, but I couldn't tell you why you would ever ban first Arthas.
I do not understand it. I really don't get it, man. I don't know. I get Arthas slows teamed with Fenix. Okay, that does make sense, but Fenix isn't getting through if there's a ban.
And then the first pick guy's like, I'm gonna get Arthas so you can get Fenix, bro. For the later picks.
Yep. Yeah, what? I'm so confused. I don't get it. I mean, it would be fine as long as it wasn't on my team. Sure, fine, go ban Arthas. Be my guest. But the first time I saw that so now that I'm remembering correctly, the first time I saw it was in an unranked game, and the opposing team ended up getting Garrosh Maiev as a result of the Arthas ban. And I was just furious. I didn't flame anyone, but I had some friends in voice chat with me, and I had nothing nice to say.
Yeah, the tough thing about Garrosh too this week is it refined further. Last week I was talking a little bit about the throw matching the exact length of your slam, allowing you to follow up your own throw with a stun and how powerful that was. This week they added on top of it Indomitable, which is what you should have been doing in the first place, but now you become unstoppable. 1.5 seconds, walk out there like Johanna and just get whatever you want. No one can stop you from getting what you want.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong with that being your number one concern right now. Like Fenix balance, like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, play in a mode with bans. Fenix is a non-issue, but Garrosh is.
Just ease of use. That's all I really care about. Pulling off a good Diablo combo, we can say it's simple, but it takes knowledge. You're exposing yourself a little bit. Sometimes you mess it up if you don't shift click and do something fancy like that. They'll get away. They'll float away. Like Hanzo.
Ugh. Stuns and displacement for Hanzo. Stuns and displacement. I've had no issues with Hanzo while I play DTC.
He's got a good kit for it.
Yes, he does. Well, all right, man. Well, before we get out of here, we have some lovely people that are supporting this podcast monetarily, which means supporting the two of us, which means we get to eat and pay rent and mortgage, and that's very lovely, and we really appreciate it. So if you like the show, if you get value from Into the Nexus and you would like to give some value back, head on over to patreon.com/ITN. Whether it's $1 an episode, $5 an episode, whatever works for you, every little bit helps. We really do appreciate it. And on this episode, we want to thank some of our newer patrons. Thank you to Hugh A, thank you to Nat R, and Derek B. All last names across the board this time. Thank you all very much, everyone. And again, check it out, patreon.com/ITN. Also, huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H and Cheesy Bob. We really appreciate it, gentlemen. Other than that, you can get Into the Nexus swag. We have shirts available at shirts.amove.tv. We have custom etched glassware, pint glasses, coffee mugs, stuff like that at etched.amove.tv. Go and check that out. Other than that, follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. That's where you should be following for it. Anytime we have a schedule change, anything like that, it will be announced on that Twitter. So go give it a follow. But before we go, Kyle, you do all sorts of stuff other than Into the Nexus. Still quite a lot of hero stuff out there. Where can everybody find all the great content that you're making?
If you're looking for Hero League games, absolutely check out my stream, twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. I had an awesome time hanging out with so many of you yesterday as we went over these patches in real time and discussed our thoughts together. I also run a YouTube where you can find now refined videos and guides and whatnot, youtube.com/Kyle Fergusson. And I said I don't like it when Blizzard does it, but I'm just one guy. So I'm going to tease out that there's something new coming on that there YouTuber of produced content that I hope to get to you all very soon. But expect Hero Leagues, of course, to diminish on the YouTube, as I don't care personally, but I like running a nice little PG show. And Hero League with voice comms is what it is. It's a lot of fun, though. Man, some of these guys can curse the paint off the walls, but I've made some fast friends, and it's just cool dudes, man. It's awesome.
I have too. It's gotten a lot more quiet for sure, but every now and then still make some friends on the voice comms. So, folks, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. If you want to follow me over there, all of the other podcasts I do can be found at amove.tv. There is almost 4 hours of Angry Chicken Hearthstone goodness for you to listen to just from this week alone. If you want to go and hear us talk about all of the remaining cards that were revealed, it is Witchwood release day, as a matter of fact. A new Let's Talk About Star Wars went up. If you want to hear Tom Merritt, Jenny Josephson, and myself discuss the new Solo trailer, the special features on The Last Jedi Blu-ray, all kinds of other nonsense, like how many almonds J.J. Abrams apparently eats when he needs to continue script writing. That
explains why Tom Merritt tweeted a picture of almonds at you in the middle of the show.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I got lost in my tabs there for a hot second.
Oh my God, he did.
Picture of almonds.
Oh my God. Oh, that's great. It's the 5 almonds. It's the 5 almonds. Listen to Let's Talk About Star Wars, everybody. Anywhere podcasts can be found. And if you need a graphic designer, check out nomoonart.com. That is my graphic design portfolio. You can contact me there directly to contract me for graphic design, or you can go to nomoonart.com/lessons if you want lessons in a multitude of different things, but mostly content creation or creating YouTube thumbnails and stuff like that. Check it out, nomoonart.com. TempoStorm.com. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. We can't thank TempoStorm enough. Again, huge thanks to them. Make sure you check out TempoStorm.com. Check out Psalms and Kala's streams and videos that they put up. They're making some great content over there. Big thanks to them again. Big thanks to Hazard for setting it all up. That's going to wrap it up for episode 212. Until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.